welcome to a brand new episode of John the PM Podcast, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. I'm your host, John McLothian, and if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm thrilled to have you here. For those of you who know me from my YouTube channel, John the PM, it's great to have you join me on this journey. Managing projects is a subject that has not only transformed my career, but also enriched my personal life in countless ways. So I'm excited to share my insights, experiences, and some valuable tools and techniques that can supercharge your journey. In today's episode, let's talk a little bit about time management. Yeah, time management. So when I first off say time management, what I'm not referring to is scheduling. I'm not referring to scheduling. That's part of the triple constraints within managing projects. You have your scope, your schedule, your costs. Those who have been with me on a workshop know that it is my belief that scheduling is the hardest challenge for any project manager. Why? Because you got to think big picture and detail all in the same breath. Big picture because, and usually the big picture is easy because these are the drop dead dates. We need to have this done by this time period. Okay, so normally that's pretty straightforward. But the details, that's where it gets really challenging. You got to have the right person doing with the right tools at the right place doing the right thing. And most of the time in a class setting, what I would tell people, or ask people rather, is what good does it do to have a painter at the job site and there's no paint? What good does it do to have the bricks at the job site and there's no brick layer? Again, no good. So I just kind of throw that out there that sometimes scheduling is probably the most challenging part of of managing projects in and of itself. However, there is another challenge that is out there, and that's managing your own personal time. Your own personal time. So project managers, PMs of the world unite. We tend to be type A people. We tend to be, kind of driven, on those areas, on those side, on that side. When I say type A, by definition, type A and type B, that's really introvert, extrovert. That's really where you kind of get your powers, your source of energy from, and things of that nature. So, but usually when you say like type A, you're kind of like saying driven, or at least the context that I'm using it today. Again, I can clarify all of that in great detail during one of my workshops. But in either case, we do tend to be driven. We do tend to be like on point. We do expect a lot of our people, and we expect a lot of ourselves on that regards. And what I would say is that you need to also treat your life as a project as well, just as a matter of fact. That's what I do. I do what I'm asking you to do. I walk the talk, in those regards. You can ask my friends and family. I tend to have like little buckets, in those areas. Those buckets represent projects. So I have my nonprofit efforts that I do, whether it's with the scouting organization or with our foundation or house of worship, whatever may be the case. They're just like little buckets. And I schedule them in. Oh, by the way, I also have my family too. Okay. And they're there as well. And I know that if I don't take care of my family, then my family won't be there to take care of me. So, kind of reciprocal. In those pieces. It does no good to make a lot of money, get a lot of accolades, and there's no one to come home to. So, you do want to be respectful of that. You want to make sure you take care of them. And probably the best way to do that is honestly to schedule it. I know that sounds like, schedule it? Yeah, schedule it. You scheduled everything else. You schedule what time you're going to get to work. Schedule when you're going to pick up the kids. Schedule when you're going to have. This is just a real quick interruption here. I know that you're enjoying yourself on that fascinating show within the world of managing projects, but just wanted to let you know that we do have books on sale, and this particular one is called The Project Manager's Quick Start Guide. I think it is an outstanding read. Why? Because, I wrote it. But on a serious note, it is really meant for those who are brand new in the world of managing projects, or let's say that you're mentoring a young individual, a young go-getter, and they have the very, very first project and you want to set them up for success. This is the book for you. Down in the description notes, you can go ahead and order at your will. Thank you. Have an awesome day. In air quotes, date night. Schedule when you're going to have dinner with your family. Schedule them on the front end. In other words, put them in. So I'm going to give you kind of like a tooth to tail, but I'm going to just like do an overview here because again, I really do walk the talk on these pieces. Just ask my family. On a 12, I actually have a 18-month rolling calendar. And like personally, myself, an 18-month rolling calendar. Usually, around the December time frame, I will sit down and document, note on my 18-month rolling calendar the big dates that are out there. My birthday. Yeah, I put my birthday down there. My children's birthdays, my wife's birthday. I put in when our anniversary date is. If there's any special family pieces that are going to be occurring, say one of my children will be graduating from school or something of that nature, I'd be sure to document and put that in there. For those with younger kids, you might want to take a look at the school calendar and see, hey, when is spring break? When is winter break? On those pieces. In other words, get those out on the table, on the front end. This way, when you're trying to put in your work obligations, you're going to have to start making choices. Yes, life is a choice, okay? I would love to say that all the time, if it's personal or family time, work will never interfere with that. I would love to say that, but that's not going to happen. And if you think about it, that's just an absolutely true statement. You do have to work. Why do you have to work? Because that's funding, that's financing for the family. Okay. The issue is when it overcomes it that you have no family to come to. So it is a balance. It is a balance in there. But at least I know that if there's a conflict, I got 12, 18 months to work through that conflict, on those areas. So if something is going to land on, well, let me use a different example. One example did kind of run up in my head, but let me use a different example. My wedding anniversary day is March 17th. Okay, that's the day we were married, March 17th. And one of my nonprofits I was working with had a huge event that was going to be on that weekend, the same day as my anniversary. Okay, they approached me to lead this effort about a year out. Okay, so it's a huge effort, lots of moving parts to it and so forth. I was super excited, said, yes, I'm going to, do it, but let me check my calendar first. I opened up my calendar, and it was on that anniversary date. I had to make a decision. And I looked back at them, and, in real time, it said, I would love to do it, but it cannot be on that weekend. And they said, well, we can't change the weekend. I said, well, that's your problem, your concern. I was married, I'm married. I intend to stay that way. I intend to kind of go with life there on those areas. It really is non-negotiable on that part. So you'll just have to find another person. Believe it or not, about 30 seconds, and they said, you know what, we'll change the date. I said, thank you, I appreciate it. I look forward to delivering an outstanding program. And I did, just as a matter of fact, on those areas. But at least I was able to deconflict right then and there because I knew what my priorities were. Now, just to add balance to it, there has been times, let's say that. So my son's birthday was on September 27th. Okay, and again, it was this was actually an engagement came up. I found out about the engagement about it was a work engagement. Okay, about 2 or 3 months earlier. Okay, on that side. And again, I opened up my calendar, had about the same, kind of conversation. Ooh, that's my son's birthday. Now, my son's birthday, was on like in the middle of the week and so forth. So typically, we're going to have to celebrate it on the weekend, on those areas. So I knew I had a little bit of flexibility on that side. But at the same time, the client, due to the nature of their work, and I knew their work, okay, and I knew 100%. that they really had no flexibility. Okay, so I knew that on the front end. They were kind of a long-term client and so forth. So I knew that they really had none. And I said I looked at them and said I do have a family conflict on that day. I like to talk it through with my family first, and let me make sure there's gonna not cause any issues or concerns on that. They respected that. That was awesome. I went back to my son. You know, they, you know, are you going to hold this against me if I, do this engagement? Maybe we can plan on something a little bit earlier, a little bit, before or after, on those pieces, because that's traditionally what we do anyway on that side. He readily agreed to it, on those pieces, on those areas, on that side, and we decided we're going to celebrate his birthday early, on those pieces to give him due credit, on those pieces to give him, his accolades on that side. So again, I had a conversation, just kind of giving different examples of how sometimes you do have to deconflict. Again, I would love to say that all families always going to like supersede, but you and I both know that if you don't bring in dollars, they're not going to have a place to sleep. Of course, the corollary is also true too. If you do all nothing but business and then when you come home, there's nobody there for you, either way. But in either case, we try to avoid, like emergencies and last minute things of that nature. And I think that, you have to ask my own family. But I would hope that they would appreciate the fact that, I don't arbitrarily make decisions, the night before. In other words, something important comes up the night before, and I'm going to miss an important date that they, I had anticipated and so forth, on those areas. So, you try and build up goodwill in those pieces and try and do your best. So that's really kind of like the first step that you would do when you are doing your planning is do an annual plan. I know it sounds corporate and everything, but honestly, it helps out a lot. On that side. Then I kind of take it one step further. I'd look at the quarter, 3 months out, deconflict, 1 month out, deconflict, 1 week, and then daily on those areas. And I have found that really helps out a lot on those pieces. I can look at my calendar and make sure that I am available especially on those key dates, and then those key activities where you have some room to some flexibility. So on an occasional basis, my wife and we may do a trip or something of that nature. It's nothing like set in stone or anything. I think we have like a goal of maybe 4 trips a year, which basically means like a quarter, or something of that nature. But it's flexible, on those pieces, so we can move those dates around. If there's a conflict, on those pieces. And then when I look back over the year, just kind of, hold myself honest and ask myself, hey, did I meet my family obligations? That didn't sound right, did it? Obligations. Did I meet my family commitments? I'm part of the family. I owe them, things and back. It's a reciprocation. But at the same time, did I also meet my business and my professional and my community, obligations as well? Because you really can balance it. Now, you are going to have to make some hard choices, but if you know what your priorities in life are from a value perspective, then it's usually not that big of an issue. All right, so just in closing, if you're looking for more information on how to become a great project manager, again, professional, personal life, don't forget to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to John the PM.